I know what you guys are going to say. There's a lot more, because you saw the title. There's a lot more blade shapes besides Wharncliffe and drop point. Well, there are, but there's not a lot of different edge profiles. When you really look at it, there's only like 3 edge profiles. You got Wharncliffe, sheep's foot, Wharntack. You got drop point, clip point, buoy, and then you've got recurve. I mean, that's basically it. There's not a lot of other blade shapes. So I just didn't want to write that all down. So guys, we're going to do a knife fight, blade battle, Wharncliffe versus drop point. So yeah, I mean, when you look at the edge profile, they're pretty much the same. So guys, that's it. You know what time it is. We're going to look at it from above. So turn down the volume. Here comes a little bit of music. So as you can see, we split the field right down the middle. These are the knives we're going to look at, but this is not a knife thing. We are going to talk about the individual knives as we pull them up. So on this side, I have clip point, drop point style blades. And on this side, I have Wharncliffe, sheep's foot, cleaver style blades, which all kind of fall into the same category. I will tell you, I don't feel that there's a big difference between, like everybody's like, oh, clip point and drop point are so much different. There's not a big drastic difference between the edge on these knives. The big difference you get is on the spine. So let's go ahead and let's start with the clip point, drop point side, and we will take a look at these knives individually, and then I'll tell you the points that I think that these knives have going for them, and then we'll talk about the points that these knives have going for them after we talk about the knives individually. It's going to be quick, but the big thing is blade shape differences. So let's go ahead and get these ones out of the way. So with those out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at these knives individually. So I've picked out 3 knives that are really like, I keep kicking the tripod, I'm sorry. I have my Ferrum Forge Crux, which is a really, really nice drop point flipper frame lock. Really, really nice. I also have the Ferrum Forge Stinger, which is a liner lock, G10 and steel. Really, really nice. Now this was a prototype that they don't come in this configuration. Don't think that they come in this Sith configuration. I did this ceramic work on this myself, including the pivot. But this is another nice little knife in drop point style. And then you've got this one, which is the VOSTEED Knives Bellamy, which is a knife that I really have fallen in love with. It came in from Jared. So all these knives are great. I love the Ferrum Forge designs. They're always really functional. So what do you get when you get a drop point or a clip point? So once again, just to reiterate this, I don't see a lot of differences in the actual edge profile. So if you were to take the spine completely out of the picture and say, take a picture and cut this off from here down and only look at the edge profile, they're pretty much the same. This one is a little less prominent, but what you have is towards the back. Let's look at this one because it does have the most visible presentation. So you have a flat area here that is going to allow you to do a good bit of work. And then you have a rounded area here that comes up to this swept tip. On a clip point, it's usually kind of recurved out here. Sometimes the swedge will be sharpened. On a drop point, it just kind of drops to the point. The spine drops to the point and you have that belly. And so what these are really, really good for are a lot of different outdoor tasks that require some versatility. So you have this flat area where you, like I said, you can do some heavy cutting, some push cutting, but you also have this swept area for cutting. You can cut around things and they come in handy. They're really nice. I'm not gonna lie, they are nice if you're cutting around something, and that's, I'm trying not to distinctly say, but if you're a hunter, you know what I'm doing right here. Skinning blades usually are just completely rounded. That's one I kind of left out. They do kind of fall out of the outside, but they, you know, you can use this for skinning an animal. You can get up on this and do those nice sweeping cuts and you have a lot of control. They also have a really piercing point. So if you need to pierce into something and then cut around it, say something that happens in this house a lot, just to put it in a real world perspective, this knife, since it's nice and thin, this knife gets used a lot for one specific purpose. You can kind of see there's a little bit of the residue still on it. This is used to pierce into and then cut around shampoo bottles. We are really frugal in this house, and so there's always a little bit of something less, ketchup bottles, things like that, and so you just pierce in and you can cut around it because you have a really nice piercing tip and you can get in. Now, some of the things that can be bad about these knives are that you can't really cut the full length before you lose some of the things. That's one of the things I'm going to talk about when we get to the cleavers and Wharncliffes. But they are really, really handy to have like that. And in an outdoor scenario, this would probably be what I would take if I was going camping. So I do have a personal preference for day-to-day carry. Here's another really good example that it's going to wind up in the description below. But this one has a really nice flat and then a big broad belly. This is along with the t-shirt I'm wearing, this was a gift from Winston Cabretti, the t-shirt you just saw in the intro. But they're really versatile. You can use them for a lot of things in the outdoor field, but they do have some limits. And the problem is there's a lot of times that you can over pierce, you can cut into something with the tip by accident. And they are something that you are much more inclined to cut yourself or poke yourself with than other knives like a Wharncliffe. The thing is, like I said, they are really, really attractive and they are versatile for outdoor stuff. So you can do feather sticking down here and use that for feather sticking. If you needed to scrape some material, you wanted really good control, you could have because you can isolate just a specific area because that does have that belly instead of it all making contact. Say you needed to scrape some hide or something. You have an area you can see where you're making minimal contact. On my hand, you can see there's some minimal contact. If I'm using this part, I'm making maximum contact. So you can kind of isolate what you're doing and cutting and things like that because you have this radiused area that allows you to do that. So those are all really good things about these knives, but there's a flip side. There are some detractions from that because there's some things that these other knives do better. So let's go ahead and bring up the second batch of knives. All right, guys, I neglected to mention something. I intended to do it because I only have a couple versions of this blade shape. In the clip point, drop point blade style, when you look at edge profile, there's other knives that kind of fall into that too. And I like to say that some of the Persians kind of fall into that. You have a flat, you have the belly, and a lot of it has to do with the spine. Now, there are some much more dramatic examples of that, but I mean, it's still in the basic thing. I mean, this one is completely curved, so you could say that this one doesn't fall into that. I still have to get this back to Nick Shabazz. This is Nick Shabazz's Ritual, CRKT Ritual. But yeah, there's some minor exceptions, but most of the knives that you're going to see that are considered Persians still have a flat, and then it comes up to a point. Just some of them are much more dramatic than that. So neglected to put it out because this just makes me want to vomit in my mouth, so it kind of gets neglected. Okay, no further omissions that we have to address. So Wharncliffe, sheepsfoot, cleaver, they all kind of share a very common blade shape. Some people try to tell me this is Wharncliffe. I like to say that a Wharncliffe has a much longer transition into the point, much more pointy. This is what I would consider a sheep's foot. This is kind of in the middle. This has got more of a transition, but I would say this is also a sheep's foot. I don't have a Wharncliffe folder at the moment because I'm letting someone borrow my Master Blaster for some research purposes, but this is more akin to an actual Wharncliffe. But I mean, you can see what I'm saying. They're all pretty much the same. Sometimes there's a little bit of a belly to the blade, but typically they're pretty straight and stuff like that. So what are we looking at? This is the Artisan Cutlery Mastiff. Really, really nice, big, beefy cleaver. The QSP Penguin, which is still in my approximation, one of the best budget knives you will ever come across. This and the CGRB Rhea. My Sea Snake, which is a true Wharncliffe. I wanted it to be, so it's a much pointier tip. And this is the SITIVIEN. I can't ever, the Anyway, that one, the ST103 in D2 steel. So these are all really good knives. We're going to move this one out of the way because we really don't need it. We just was an example of a Wharncliffe. Because in all these knives, you're going to have the same benefits. Now, the nice thing about these, they are completely straight. Now, I talked about something about slippage on cutting and things like that. These all have very easy to address points on the surface of your material. You're not going to have to worry about where the drop point clip work really worked well with those sweeping cuts for skinning and things like that. These are good for detail work, cutting out materials, especially if you're like cutting out paper on a leather topped table, where you're going to be able to cut out those forms and patterns really well. They allow you to have a much better blade to handle ratio because the tip of that blade is not up here, it's way down here. So you can basically just match that. You don't have to worry about hitting that point and cutting yourself. And the last reason I really, well, a couple reasons I like, you can get up under something. Guys, I can go all day if I'm not filming and not hear a single ambulance or dog barking the second I start filming. So what I was saying is, due to the shape of these, even a Wharncliffe, I mean, you can get up under some, did not mean to do that. You can get up under your work material and not have to worry about like cutting from the top. If you can get that tip up under, you can work up under some material, and they come in really handy because if you're trying to cut something and not cut the underlaying material, you can kind of get up under it a little bit and then work through and then cut. Another really good reason is, let me grab one of the drop points. Where'd I put them? Here, there's this one. So when you're cutting with a drop point, if you're cutting through something and you're trying to do like a forceful cut, you have an area that you can do it with. And if you're cutting, you basically will have all that cutting potential right there till you hit where that belly rounds up and then it slips off. You don't have that. You can cut with the same pressure and cutting potential all the way to the tip on this knife and not have to worry about slipping off of your material. So they come in really handy. They're really good for a lot of good close-up detail work. If you're out and you're just cutting and you want to cut stuff flat on a platform, you have full cut that is completely straight pretty much. I mean, when I say completely straight, it's pretty much straight. You can cut all the way through something down like that and you have all of that surface to cut. Does it have some limitations? Yeah, they're not quite as piercy and cutty. They do work for some things. You can get in and cut, but to pierce into something, a lot of times they're a lot more blunt. They come down to a much less acute tip. So if you're looking for something that you're going to pierce in and then cut with, these might not be it because you have to address it. Instead of coming in at it, say this is a bottle that you're wanting to puncture. Instead of coming in at it like this, you got to kind of come in at an angle and like claw your way in almost to get it started. So they do have some limitations. And then like this is even less piercy because this is a cleaver. So basically it's just like a modified sheep's foot. So they've cut it down like this, and that doesn't have a piercing tip at all. Your piercing tip is at a weird angle. So they're really useful and they are really attractive. I just find that in my day-to-day use, the sheep's foot or Wharncliffe is a lot more inclined to meet the requirements that I have on a day-to-day. One of the reasons that I designed this knife. I actually did a drop point version of this first, and then somebody asked me if I could turn it into a Wharncliffe for him, and I did, and it wound up being the one I liked better of the two. This style blade shape is much more functional in my day-to-day living in an urban scenario. If I was an outdoors guy, still like an avid outdoorsman, I would probably have something like this, but it would be a fixed blade. So I have fixed blades for that. So there's no right or wrong answer as to what the best blade shape is. It's just your preferences. And I know that, like I said, I grouped a bunch of stuff together because they are so similar. Let's look at this. I mean, I don't even have to show you. The only difference between these two blade shapes is where the transition at the tip starts. A Wharncliffe has a longer transition to a much more acute point. This is a much more acute point than this. This is even more than this, and all of them are more acute than this, which is basically the knife point equivalent of a ball bat. So yeah, I mean, don't take it like I'm trying to diss on any one of these knife shapes. They are all gorgeous. They are all great. These are some of these right here that you're seeing. This one's rapidly becoming something I like. But all the knives you saw today are knives that are truly some of my favorites these days that I carry and use. So, guys, I could go on about this subject. I shot a members only video talking about the thought process that went into this video. I could talk about this all day, but then I'd have a lot of editing to do. So let's go ahead, turn us around and do some final thoughts and send you guys home. So there you go, guys. Like I said at the table, like there is no wrong answer here because they're both great. I personally love Wharncliffe's and Sheepsfoot more for their functionality, but aesthetically, unless it's done incredibly well, like my Ferrum Forge Master Blaster, which you haven't got to see today, but unless it's done incredibly aesthetically well, I'm gonna say that the drop point clip point is probably gonna be the more attractive of two. So that's it, guys. I love y'all. That's not how we do this. That's it, guys. If you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down. But please try to tell me why I can't change the content if you don't tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, it's as simple as like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. And if you hit the bell icon, make sure you got notifications turned on your device or you're not going to get notified of the sometimes 3 items that go up a day on this channel. Other ways you can do it if you want to do it financially, there's a bunch of ways down in the description below. First and foremost, the one that helps me out the most is a membership. I have a tier-based membership down below. Different benefits, different tiers. Pick the tier that works best for you. But remember, everyone saves $5 on my sharpening service, and everyone has access to my gilded server. Other ways you can do it, I have a bunch of affiliate links down below. Coffee Brand Coffee, no politics, no pandering, just coffee, and Blade HQ are my 2 newest ones. Blade HQ is a big one because most of the things you see on this channel you can find there. And the final ways, I have a merchandise store on Ember Shirt Co. where you can pick up merchandise with my logo on it. And I've got a coupon code that'll save you 10% at checkout. That coupon code is CrazySharp, all one word, capital C, capital S, CrazySharp. And as always, if you send me pictures of you wearing my merchandise, I will put them in a video. Guys, I love y'all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I will see you in the next video. Now it was time for that one.